right into the next fight. My guy, Anthony Joshua versus Otto Wallin. Everybody been talking about my guy. Win, lose, or draw. Team Anthony Joshua. Let's go, let's go. Everybody's been talking all week and the weeks leading up, even before that. You know, they spoke down on his, on everything since like Usyk. And arguably even going back before that to the fight against Ruiz. But let's go. Let's get it. I feel like he got his mojo back over the last 2 fights with Franklin, a comfortable victory, controlling the fight all 12 rounds. Still a little bit timid. Opened up a bit more in the Helenius fight in August. Got the win there. Returned to his knockout ways. Here we are now. Everybody that talked bad about him. Fury, Wilder, tables turn. Everybody's had to face the music and deal with either defeat or a questionable win and whatnot. You know, it's like they say, when you dig a hole for somebody else, you dig 2, 1 for you and for them, right? The only complaint that I had is that I wish that this Wallin fight, this should have been the fight during the summer. There was no need for that for that Dillian Whyte fight. Here comes my guy. White with black trim. See the t-shirt matching? There we go. Great minds think alike. Good luck, my dude. God be with you. And hopefully no injuries for either fighter. It's like, seriously, it's 1:15 left in the first round. No audio since they met in the middle of the ring. And audio's been an issue at points throughout the day. So you gotta get this together, man. It's like, if you're trying to get people to subscribe and to buy pay-per-view and whatnot, you can't have these kind of problems. Especially for this to be like the main event on the card. And you're now a minute into the second round and you still have audio issues. It's like, you gotta tighten this kind of stuff up, man. Like, it's unacceptable. Absolutely disappointing, man. Like, the fight itself is fine, but it's like, you know, you can't hear anything. It really affects like the experience of it. I'm actually like really annoyed by the audio problems, man. Because it's like 2 rounds down, still no audio.
The crown is yours.
And it's like, not even to say like the audio's cutting in and out or it's low or something like that, just absolutely no audio. So it's like when they're throwing punches, part of it when you're at home of like telling whether or not punches are landing and things like that is the sound of it. Like, does it sound like they're throwing but hitting air, or is it actually connecting? It's kind of making it hard to gauge the fight. Or rather to gauge how effective they are in throwing punches through the fight. And it's like, I don't understand. You have audio for the commercials, but the fight, which is what I'm actually paying for, you don't have audio. 3rd round, still no sound. Exactly. It's absolutely ridiculous, man. Start of the 4th round, and now you finally have audio. Ridiculous. Ooh, nice right hand. Kind of closing in on him, moving forward. Ooh, look at that. Everybody was talking about my guy, but my guy came through, showed and proved, right? Really nice balance, good defense, good offense. He wasn't in there reckless or anything like that. Incredibly well. Shut everybody up. You realize everybody that did the big talking this week, or in the lead up to the fight, that they all came in and lost, right? You saw it with Miller, you saw it with Wilder, and here you saw it again with Wallin. Everybody else that was questioned, they said Dubois that he was a 2-time quitter. You know, with Parker, Wilder, what was he gave himself the new nickname Dr. Sleep. Otto Wallin was saying that, Anthony Joshua, that his head is gone, that he's mentally weak and this and that and whatnot. Everyone that came in talking smack got spanked, and badly. My guy. So now then, fight is over. It's going to be interesting to see where things go from here. Because obviously, I think everyone was looking forward to Joshua versus Wilder in the first quarter of 2024. But with Wilder having lost, the question is, it seems like they still might be open to fighting him. But the question is, does Wilder still want to fight? Right? Because at the end of his match against Parker, it sounded like, number one, which I think is a positive thing, like he didn't seem too hurt. But aside from that, it sounded like he was pretty satisfied with what he's done in boxing. He's, 38 years old now? And quite possibly ready to retire, He's 38 years old. It's like, is there much else for him to accomplish here? Especially when you take that into consideration with the potential risk that he would take with continuing to fight. He looked timid, might not be the word, but apprehensive to let his hands go. Which, if you think about it, that was the complaint that they had about Anthony Joshua. And I actually think it was a really great game plan for Anthony Joshua to be more active this year, to push past this thing of just waiting for the big fights and just to be active. Fighting 3 times this year, you could see that over that time it helped him to regain his confidence. It helped him to try out new things, to work with different trainers, and then put those things into live practice in the ring under the lights. And you've seen the progression over the fights. The Franklin fight, I was there, I saw it in person. It seemed like he was very apprehensive in that fight, really held back a lot. But from there, you then saw he opened up a bit more in the Helenius fight, was initially a bit apprehensive in that fight, but then settled into a rhythm, got a bit more comfortable, more confident, and then started to, to press the issue and to put pressure on Helenius. He sustained some damage in both fights. The first fight, I think, it was his nose or something like that. The Helenius fight, his face was a bit bruised up. But I think we kind of have to put an asterisk next to the Helenius fight, because when you think about that one, he still knocked out Helenius, but then afterwards, Helenius tested positive for performance-enhancing drugs, right? And he now fought Otto Wallin, and you saw he came in, he was aggressive, but not reckless, right? Really good balance of offense and defense. And so with that, it was a really, really great performance. There's this thing about, you hear people commenting about the old AJ versus this new AJ. And I feel like he had just the right balance tonight. Really, really great performance. And so it just remains to be seen what's going to happen in the future. It's a return to his old winning ways. But not just that, because he did win his last 2 fights, but in spectacular fashion, right? In the way in which we expect him to win, which is really great. So, really great to see this. And I hope that it continues on. This thing of being active, getting out there fighting. I like this new blend. And, now you see the vision of becoming this more well-rounded fighter, of not just being just an all-out offense, raging bull in a china shop kind of thing, but having a good defense, a good balance. You can see that they tightened up on some things. So he's looking really, really good. Very, very good performance. And I like it, to close out this event. Because in the lead up, there's been a lot made about his demeanor, about, everyone's trying to analyze him and all this kind of stuff. Just a lot of negativity and whatnot. Much in the same way that they were second-guessing Daniel Dubois it's nice to see both of them come through and to kind of silence the critics. With Anthony Joshua, I'm curious to see what the next steps are here. It's interesting because the heavyweight picture has now substantially changed, right? This fight, at least, or this card really, its arrangement has largely come about because of Tyson Fury and his fight with Ngannou, right? And how unexpected an event that was, and that it really helped to open up the heavyweight division, right? Now you've had this event where so many of the fighters fought, and it put so many great fights into play. The hope is that this is indication of what boxing can become in the future, of promoters working together rather than it being just like a whole bunch of nonsense that gets in the way of fights being made. So it's going to be interesting to see, who does Anthony Joshua fight next? In the lead up to this, I don't know how accurate it was, but on social media you were seeing that that the deal had been reached between Anthony Joshua and Deontay Wilder for them to meet next year on March 9th, provided that they both came through their fights. Anthony Joshua won his, Deontay Wilder lost his. So it remains to be seen, given that supposedly the deal was signed before, is it still a fight that happens? Is it still a fight that people want to see? And then as part of that, does Deontay Wilder still want to fight? If that fight doesn't happen, who then does Anthony Joshua fight next? Because pretty much Tyson Fury is going to be locked in with Alexander Usyk, right? That's 2 fights because there's a rematch attached to it. So most likely the 2 of them are going to be wrapped up for 2024 for at least the first half of the year, because if they fight in February, let's say you rematch like 3-4 months later, that's what, February, March, April, May, June, like June, July. And if the fight's going to take place in Saudi Arabia, most likely they're not trying to have that in the middle of the summer. So it's probably going to push into deeper into the later half of the year, which means that the 2 of them are probably then tied up. Right, so I believe Filip Hrgović is the IBF challenger. So I think, which was something that was mentioned as part of the game plan, was Anthony Joshua going for being 3-time champion, which would then mean fighting Filip Hrgović. And I think with a performance like this, with the track record he's had over the last year, and with this performance, that actually seems like a really good path to take. And I think especially with a win like this and his popularity, it's a fight that might be of great interest to everyone, including Filip Hrgović, rather than, because we've seen that instead of just sitting and waiting to fight Usyk or whoever is the victor in this undisputed fight whenever it takes place, that Filip Hrgović has remained active in the meantime. So that could be another interesting fight. With Joseph Parker having defeated Deontay Wilder, there's also the possibility for him having a rematch with Anthony Joshua. I don't know that I necessarily want to see that fight. I thought the first fight was fine, but I don't really see it being like really an explosive fight or anything like that. I think maybe if the Deontay Wilder fight doesn't happen, then maybe the Filip Hrgović fight might be a little bit more interesting. You can't forget that Zhilei Zhang is still out there. He just wasn't on this card, but he's another exciting fighter that could be a possibility. Beyond that, I'm trying to think who else. Maybe Caballero, but he was like a little bit further down the card. You never know. Maybe next year. I mean, at this point, I don't think the Ruiz and Deontay Wilder fight is happening at all. And really it just goes to show you, I really think that fight should have taken place. Deontay Wilder should have been active during the year, and then maybe the result of tonight would have been different. But it's going to be interesting to see what the rankings look like when the new rankings come out, and then how 2024 ends up shaping up as far as who fights who and when. So looking forward to it. All in all, my guy won, and I'm happy about that. So on to the next. Excited to find out about when they announce the next fight, and hopefully they get over this nonsense of months and months of talking about fights that ultimately don't happen. And you get more into this thing of talking about fights that happen and then, having them take place and not fall apart at the last minute, or having like weeks and weeks of build up and, we're close to a contract and this and that and whatnot, and having nothing come of it. So hopefully this is a step in the right direction, and 2024 continues with the same energy of being an exciting year for boxing. So looking forward to it. Let's see what happens. And happy holidays. Happy New Year.
Thanks for tuning in. To ensure you don't miss any episodes, subscribe to the channel, click the notification bell, go ahead and click the thumbs up button if you like what you saw, and go ahead and share it on social media.